Hi, this is Rosalind Kahn. I am here with Community of Unity, and today we have a distinguished honor of being with a mother who's really been through a lot. Christine Nauman is an author and tells a harrowing story that no mother would ever want to encounter with your young daughter, loved so much. And she's going to tell you the story of how her daughter became addicted and what the road is to recovery. Now, there's good news. She didn't become a statistic. Her daughter is still here today. So let's give a warm welcome to our author here, Christine Nauman. Say hello to the audience here, Christine.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, fantastic. It's such an honor and privilege to have you. So tell me a little bit about your book about Natalie. How did that all get started?
My book about Natalie is it's a memoir. The book is called About Natalie, but I would say that it's probably only maybe 20% about Natalie and probably 80% about me. It's a mom's story about what it's like to be the mother of an addict, the heartbreak and all the emotions, all of the journey that Natalie and I had together trying to achieve health for her.
Wow, it sounds like a really difficult process. I know when I was reading that, it was just frightening to imagine all the different situations. And I'll ask you some of the questions I had a little bit later on. But why did you write about Natalie? What was your goal in writing the story?
My goal in writing about Natalie was, there were a few goals. I wanted to reach out to parents like myself because being the parent of an addict, you go through so many emotions. There's the shock, there's the denial, there's all the guilt, the shame, the embarrassment. You're quite isolated because I think that the embarrassment has you isolating. You don't feel understood. And I realized that so many people were going through what I was going through. And the biggest thing that I felt that could have helped me was knowing that I was not alone.
Wow.
And I wanted to tell those parents and those loved ones they were not alone.
Oh, that's great. Now, I know there's a public support group out there. Is there a particular agency or whatever they could reach out to? Is it the SEMA or is it the National Institute of Mental Health that would be of most help to them? Is there one that you would recommend?
Well, you know what? I have to admit that I don't know. I have found a lot of comfort in NAMI, the National
There you go.
Alliance for Mental Illness. Yeah, I have found a lot of comfort there. I actually do a little bit of speaking for them. I've had the privilege of being a volunteer for them, and I really I really admire the work that they do.
No, it's absolutely fantastic. I know when I was doing several of the posts about this, I was talking about here's some of the signs based on some of the things that you had said and some of the solutions about open communication and setting boundaries and so forth. What is the book's message? If someone hadn't read this book and didn't know what it was about and was looking at 7 books on this topic, what would you say is the core message here?
The message is really it's a message of love. It's a message of there's always hope. I'm a person who really believes that love wins, and it's a message of endurance. It's a message of tolerance and understanding. I don't offer any advice except to just one day at a time. And I guess another message is that the addicts are not monsters. They are people's sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters and nieces and nephews. And, the little boy you like to see in church, the little girl you like to see playing in the yard next to you, addiction just doesn't happen to other people. It's happening to everyone.
Yeah, and that's the shocking reality. I looking online and found out that one out of every seven people has an addict, and there's seven kids in my family, and who was that person who has that problem, and it's like everybody's family has one. So
Yes.
that's what you hope to accomplish with the book, correct? That's the question we just asked.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely what I want to accomplish with the book. A hug to the loved ones, and encouragement to those struggling with addiction. And honestly, I mean, I hope to give back through part of the proceeds from the book. I want to give back, and hopefully in some big way, I can contribute back to some healthcare that is helping people fight.
No, that is really so important. What were the most helpful words anyone ever spoke to you about Natalie's addiction? And what was the most helpful thing that anyone ever did? I'm sure there were some, I've never seen a book with so many notes of appreciation to so many doctors and so many people. Is there a message that someone told you that on a bad day kept you going?
Oh, I think the things that people did that were the most helpful, people who encouraged me to do what I could live with. I think every journey through addiction has commonalities, but it's an individual journey, and I think you really have to do it your way, do what you can live with. I I feel that talking about it, I mean, if you don't know what to say, just keeping company with that person. And sometimes addicts become the elephant in the room. Everybody dances around it and walks around it, and feels that the right thing to do is just not mention it. I think that's for me at least, it was very painful when people didn't mention Natalie. And didn't ask about her. And I found that when people asked about her and I was able to talk a little bit about her, I felt quite comforted by that.
Hmm. 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 And so you would say kind of the most helpful thing was when people gave you the chance, asked you the question, you could share what's going on. And there's nothing like having a sounding board to give that information. No, there's
Absolutely.
there's there's one question I had as I was reading the story. Um, and excuse me for my ignorance. How old was she when she started? Was it from the pregnancy that happened that attracted her to this, or is there a root cause, or did I miss something?
Well, I mean, I think that's a great question, but it's a hard question to answer. I mean, Natalie started experimenting with pills very young.
Right,
She
and
started taking pills out of her grandparents' medicine cabinet at 12, and things escalated. She moved from pills to harder substances until the time when she was a very young 15 and was on fentanyl and heroin.
right. But I
I
remember
think there were root causes.
I think when you were talking about the missing of the spoons and you were having dinner, I mean, she was much younger at that point. Was that 5, 6, 7 years old? That there was spoons missing
Well,
in
that
the kid.
was no. She wasn't that young when the spoons were missing. That was much older. But
You talked
I
about the
mean, Natalie
cold and
was
the medicine. You talked about the
the
medicine and what.
cold medicine. Yeah.
Okay. And how old was
Yes, I
she at
do.
that?
I talk about the cold medicine, and I think that she was a very bright child, and I think that she realized that those things maybe made her feel better. I think that Natalie was an anxious child. I think she was often bullied from very young, and I think maybe who knows, maybe she realized that the cold medicine was a little bit of an escape.
Right, right, right. Different people have different ways to handle things. You know, I as a child had scoliosis, and I know what it's like to be considered an outsider. And it gives me the sense
Hmm.
to know, you know, being the outsider, some of the things we do. I turned to writing, and I was a big visualizer.
Yes.
That's what went ahead and helped me. And I think Natalie also had some of those skills because when I read the poetry and I wrote in the review, they were the interlude, the piece that drew the book really together, that made it so rich and so, you know, she's extremely talented. You know, all this and is just one other piece of part of her. Do you have any advice for parents struggling with their children?
Yeah, I think I shy away from giving a lot of advice, but I think that I do educate yourself. Educate yourself way in advance of needing to know what you think you need to know. I was horribly in the dark. I had never been exposed to addiction. I had never been exposed to drugs, and therefore I didn't know what I was looking at. I mean, I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't know the spoons. I didn't know the Q-tips. I didn't know the other things that she would use to the other things that she would use. I didn't know the warning signs. And I mean, even if you're not big on, I would tell people, even if you're not big on going to a class or a group or whatever, I mean, Google it. You get a lot of information from just being aware. I was just very late to the party. And I think that part of my job as being a mom was to be a little bit more aware of what she could have been falling into.
Right. No. Um, what can other people who are not struggling with their own children do to help those who they know are experiencing this and are having struggles with that? What advice would you give to them, the people who are on the outside looking in, knowing something that's happening? You're certainly not going to ignore them.
Right.
What advice would you want them to know?
Well, like I said before, I mean, that offering that, I mean, I can't tell you how many cups of tea have saved me, how many cups of tea with friends who know that it's again, allowing me to talk about her, even if it's not the most pleasant conversation. That is encouragement to me, letting people pour their hearts out, and letting me talk about Natalie, asking about her, and tolerance and patience. If I know it's very hard, I know it's so easy to judge, and when it's not part of your journey, it's a little easy to say, not us, never me, not my child. I thought all of those things before it happened to me. So just a lot of maybe some understanding and compassion.
No, it certainly goes a long way, just putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So how are you doing these days? Really, I mean, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I can't brag that I'm great. I mean, to be honest with you, Natalie has been clean for over a year and a half, which is just, I mean, I cannot express how amazing that is, how proud I am of her, because I can't imagine how hard that is to have achieved and to maintain. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't take it one day at a time, and if I didn't worry, and if I didn't sort of walk on eggshells. But I'm okay. I'm okay, and so is she. So our
That's really, you
we're,
know,
we're
it's
we're working it. We're taking it one day at a time.
what is Natalie's choice profession that she's looking towards in the future?
Natalie loves children. She just absolutely loves children. I think that is something that she is exploring. I think maybe some sort of education, but then on the flip side, uh, I'm happy that she's also entertaining the thought of helping people, um, educating people in regards to addiction, and helping others who fell into addiction find their way out of the darkness.
Right. And that's one of the amazing things. I teach public speaking in the classroom, and I can't tell you what the stories were, but my classroom becomes a forum for people to get up and give these speeches. And I often say, that was the first time you shared that story, wasn't it? Yes. Well, now you've shared it with us. The world is waiting to hear that. And I hope that when other people hear the stories that you've gone ahead and shared, that Natalie is going to be one of those people that's going to change people's life because she's going to be able to relate and connect. And they say sometimes it's the hardships that we have that make us stronger. And that's truly the beauty of the book. Now, tell us, where can we get this book and where's it available at?
It's available on Amazon and wherever books are sold. And like I said, part of the proceeds are going back. I'm too blessed not to give back, so it's going to be a contribution.
Oh, that's fantastic. I really love that. Books that give back. I wrote a book called Dogs and Roses.
This weekend, let's celebrate Memorial Day.